Thank you, Honorable Williams. Let's give her another round of applause, please. I now invite to the podium Mr. Delton Jones. Delton Jones is a former Turks and Caicos Islands Government Permanent Secretary, Finance, and Chief Economist. He studied economics in the Caribbean and the UK. His career includes writing and implementing strategies and projects to address the development issues in the TCI for close to 20 years. He was made a member of the British Empire in 2006 and is currently a self-employed consultant at Delton Jones and Associates. Mr. Jones is also currently a director of the Financial Services Commission. Let's welcome Mr. Jones.
When I asked my 16-year-old daughter, Nia, an aspiring hotelier and entrepreneur, what she thought about the topic, she said, "Daddy, it has to mean giving all of us, doctors, lawyers, dietitians, everyone, a chance so they can be recognized and have a chance to shine so we can put Turks and Caicos Islands back in the spotlight." Her words filled my mind as I prepared this presentation. I hope she will be proud of me. With that said, I want to wish everybody a pleasant good morning. Looking at the topic, there are two words stand out: foundations and sustained. Together they imply that we as a country and people are building or seeking social and economic developments, and that they have to be built on solid foundations to lessen disruption and uncertainty. Disruption and uncertainty cause pain and suffering for real people on the ground as corrective policies and reforms become necessary. It follows that we should have a notion of what we mean by sustained social and economic developments, and we have to define the prudent foundations on which they will be built. There are many foundations on which sustained social and economic developments can be built. My presentation will focus on three practical ones, and so will not be exhaustive, as many ideas abound. Ultimately, I hope we, collectively the government, the private sector, and ordinary citizens, would resolve to turn ideas into policies and projects to address the challenges being faced by many of our people today. In development economics, while growth is a prerequisite for development, by itself, it is not a sufficient condition. The scope of the economic development and social developments we should be seeking should be wider. It should include concerted actions in the areas of human capital development, critical infrastructure provision, competitiveness, environmental sustainability, social inclusion, health, security, literacy, among other initiatives. We should be aiming to link economic prosperity with environmental stewardship, social equity, and cultural integration. These changes will take place over time. They might involve several generations. In fact, we should be making an intergenerational covenant with future generations that we will be good stewards of the resources, skills, and talents of these islands to give them the best chance now and in a very dynamic world whose boundaries we cannot fathom. Much like a family, the Turks and Caicos Islands has to devise and implement strategies to achieve its goals based on strong foundations while trusting God to bless our endeavors. We should be inspiring to build a godly nation which is at peace with itself, where joy and happiness abound, where all can coexist and use their gifts and talents and realize their full potential, while at the same time contributing to the well-being, upkeep, and legacy of these islands. The Turks and Caicos Islands is being challenged to use its resource endowment to seize opportunities, to lessen disruption, and reduce uncertainty, which will undermine its quest for sustained social and economic developments. In so doing, we have to be cognizant of international and domestic conditions. How we deal with the consequences of current developments will have implications for the Turks and Caicos Islands we leave to our children and their children. In preparing this presentation, I look at the People Democratic Party's blueprint and the Progressive National Party's plan for prosperity. I can report that with the exception of the treatment of the hospitals, there's convergence on most issues and similar strategies are proposed. There seems to be consensus that at this time in our history, our public policy needs to focus on growth, employment, good governance, and debt management. These are positive developments because they suggest that what we really need to do now is to stop talking and get working. So let us join forces to do what we have to do. As I stated earlier, there are many foundations or ideas on which sustained social and economic developments can be built. Within the preceding context, in the remainder of the presentation, I would like to discuss three such foundations, namely, 1, a people-centered development strategy, 2, a national development agenda and plan, and 3, public-private sector consultations and dialogue. In improving living conditions and chance for all to realize their potential, this should embody what we mean by sustained social and economic developments. Distinguished Professor Norman Goodwin of the University of the West Indies suggests the point at which social and economic developments meet is at the creation of jobs for people. Social marginalization and poverty cannot be reduced as long as unemployment persists and consign significant number of our people to material and social deprivation and hopelessness. Furthermore, studies have shown that in the Caribbean, the rise in crime correlates with rising poverty and despondency, especially among young males. Social development objectives cannot be effectively pursued separately from those of economic growth and consolidation, nor should social development be regarded as a luxury, which is to be affordable only after a certain level of economic development is attained. We therefore have to avoid as best we can economic policies which balance the books and achieve growth and achieve other targets at the cost of reversing past social gains. Our fiscal policies have to protect past gains in the areas of poverty reduction. This would involve careful reviews and better targeting of social safety net programs so we can continue to be a caring society. Indeed, we have to be our brother's keeper. We cannot afford to leave anyone behind. Social and economic development processes are closely interrelated, and strategies for both should be mutually supportive. According to the International Monetary Fund, fiscal policy can foster growth and social development through a number of different channels. Prudent fiscal policy with small budget deficits and low public debt is a key ingredient for sustaining economic certainty and resilience, which engenders growth, which is in turn essential for reducing poverty and improving social outcomes and employment. As we look to the future, we need to maintain investments in basic education and public health, which are necessary to create a healthy, productive, and motivated population, which is an essential basis for the flexibility and internationally competitive economy we need to secure our future. We have to pursue economic growth strategies which provide for improved income and high-quality employment, especially for the poor and youths. This would involve promoting TC Islander-owned businesses, development of small and medium-sized businesses, especially in the crafts and small farm sector in the Caicos Islands to create linkages with the tourism sector and provinciales. We also need to assess the risks and establish a practical successor organization to TC Invest to provide assistance to small farmers. Furthermore, We need to explore public-private sector approaches to establishing a student loan program, which balance the risks involved with the need to educate our people to help transform our economy. There are many Caribbean models we can assess. We also need to muster up the courage to develop the college, which has the potential to be a global center of excellence and innovation in areas such as oceanography, green technology, and it can become the anchor project of the much taunted College Park project. We cannot leave sustained social and economic developments in these islands to chance. I was therefore very pleased that the House of Assembly recently debated the need for a national agenda. From what I heard, it was felt that such an agenda is needed to focus national attention, energy, and resources on a few priority areas and achieve consensus on key issues that would give the islands their best chance now and in the future. But I was equally disappointed that a lot of resources was expended by a former administration to prepare a national social economic development strategy for the period 2007 to 2017, which seemed to be largely forgotten, lying on the shelf graveyard. This strategy was prepared consulting over 500 people at town hall meetings and focus groups, and 22 subcommittees addressed topics such as revenue and tax policy, local government, education, health, crime and security, climate change adaptation, empowerment strategies, diversification and sustainable tourism. Island plans were prepared for all of the inhabited islands. The development strategy was comprehensive, ambitious and flexible, allowing for its monitoring and adjustment to embrace emerging issues. We are still within the time frame of the strategy. In the resource-constrained situation in which we find ourselves, a simple revision of the strategy could be a logical starting point as we embark on a future development planning initiative. Preparation of a national development plan would present an exciting opportunity for us to agree and debate some specific national development targets and progress indicators along the lines of the Millennium Development Goals. When we embark on the next development planning initiative, as we must, we need to ensure that it does not become a next shelf document. In this regard, the following observations from the Commonwealth Secretariat are worth noting. A, the plan should be practical. That is, while it should be comprehensive and ambitious, covering priority policies and issues, it should be consistent with the level of resources and the implementation capacity in the islands. B, the plan should have national ownership amongst government departments, the private sector, non-government organizations, and ordinary citizens, who should all be involved in its preparation. The plan should be effectively communicated and marketed. The use of social media can be helpful here. The plan should be endorsed by the House of Assembly to give it legitimacy. And C, there must be a clear implementation framework. The plan should provide a basis for national budgets to give it true meaning. Implementation of the plan would present a framework for citizens to hold their government accountable and build credibility. The final foundation I would like to discuss is public-private sector consultations and dialogue. Governments cannot dictate sustained social and economic developments by legislation. As we would no doubt agree, private sector investment, responsible business conduct, thriving small businesses, and effective non-government organizations are essential conditions for a vibrant economy, sustained developments, better living conditions, and accelerating people-centered national development. All actors should be seen as equal, complementary partners.